Hello, my name is Brant Hunt, and my channel is Discerning What is True. I'm going to be reading again tonight, chapter 5 of the book of the Temple in Man by Rene Schwaller, and the chapter is Name Orientation. So I appreciate you being here as we continue to look at Rene Schwaller's works. He's written many books. This is one of them. Orientation is the chapter 5. It is the axis of the Temple of the Zohar that throws the most light on the architectural principle of the pharaonic temple. They are marked on the ground, and this fact may be verified. It is this construction of three axes that gives movement to the entire architecture, thus creating that living state of which I spoke of in chapter 4, that is called the plan. Each of these axes has, in addition to its mystical meaning, a practical meaning connected with it. We must first establish the north-south orientation. In this connection, we encounter a problem which must be pointed out. It will always be difficult, if not impossible, to establish amid constructions such as that of the Zohar a true magnetic north with an ordinary compass. The more sensitive the compass, the more it will undergo deviations due to the masses of blocks made of generally ferruginous sandstone. In the Temple of the Zohar is added the effect of iron bars set in the cement, recently inserted to consolidate certain parts of the masonry that were threatening to fall into ruins. Thus, unless one were to use an adjustable marine compass, one could never establish with any certainty a magnetic north, enabling one to calculate true north. For this reason, I use the sun, which does not deceive. The general axis is at an angle of 33 degrees, 34 points. That is 33, what is it, 33 degrees, 34, 33, 34 from north-south. This is the axis of measure. It divides the south facade of the temple in two parts that are unequal, like most of the votive, V-O-T-I-V-E, cubits that have come down to us. This inequality is connected not only with time, but above all with the principle of variation of the solar influence. In fact, it would be a mistake to attempt to apply the formula of the temple of the image of heaven in a purely astronomical connection. I insist on affirming that the pharaonic science is vital and never schematic. One might say pharaonic Egypt abhors symmetry, just as nature abhors a vacuum. The highest point of the sun at midday does not divide its course into two equal parts. There are variations of duration from sunrise to noon and from noon to sunset, but that is not what matters here. It must be noted that the morning sun is not the same vitality as the afternoon sun, as every experienced gardener well knows. It is not a question of accumulation, I should say, of heat in the course of the day, but at a different radiation that affects all life, as an emission of ultraviolet or infrared rays could do, and probably does. There results from this a variation in the growth and ripening of every living thing. The measure applies to these two states is not the same. Let us acknowledge a Osirian meaning and a Horanian meaning adapted to the myth for these measures. Indeed, in the composition of the statues and figurations, the measures corresponding to the characteristic mythical lineage is used. The axis of Ammon, this axis is at an angle of 34 degrees 27 to north-south. This angle corresponds to orientation of the temple on a given hour. In this regard, one could profitably consult the list of the solar barts at Efu, E-D-F-U. That is, the Egyptians conceived the sun ray as riding across the sky by day and under the earth by night in a boat or bark. A list of these barts was kept at the temple of Efu. Now I'm going to show you what it shows here in this particular book. So figure 29 here states simply this. Plans showing construction along the geometric axis and the axis of measure. This is the one over here. Okay, and then I'll show you the next figure 30, plan showing construction along the axis of a moon, AMUN. This will be on this side over here. Let's continue on. Each wall of the covered temple, which interests me especially here, is constructed along one or another of the three axes, as is shown by figures 29 and 30. Thus, each wall and its inscription should be studied according to the axis that rules it. There is neither poor execution nor incoherence in the architecture of the covered temple, as these halls will distorted angles or these sometimes awkwardly aligned columns might seem to suggest. And even if one does not care to place any faith in the esoteric reason that I provide here for those who wish to hear them, there still remains the positive fact that in the Temple of Azor, the walls obey a law particular to each of the three axes marked on the platform and easily verifiable. This should be sufficient to alert archaeologists to the errors of the present methods of research. Since it has been shown that there may be several axes in the construction of a pharaonic monument, and that the surveys made by the archaeological architects have been carried out accordingly to their preconceived ideas of a schematic construction consistent with modern thought, all the surveys carried out up to the present should be revised. On the other hand, for the same reason, a reconstruction makes no sense and ought to be avoided. Summary of principles. Orientation is of capital importance for life on Earth, since the stars govern its entire existence. This cult is a solar cult. That is why cathedrals' choirs are oriented towards the rising sun. They are never found oriented exactly east-west, for the reason that only the North Pole is readily fixed. The east-west bar of the cross orientation is mobile through the seasons. A fixed east-west direction is purely theoretical. In the case of the Pharaonic temple, observations of the orientation is a valuable indication of the temple's meaning. This would require explanation that I must reduce here to a few indicators. We are so accustomed to the terms left and right that we no longer accord any interest to their consideration. However, they express something other than conventional designation. In nature, left and right have a vital value. Hence, bodies suspended in the universe turn around their axes. The North Pole will be defined as the movement that's seen from this North Pole, turns from right to left. Seen from the South Pole, this same body turns from left to right. This is not simply a question of relative appearance. The physical effect is completely different. Let us note something not generally known, that is, that the North Pole attracts and the South Pole repels. With respect to the masses of these rotating bodies, our North Pole hollows out the Earth, and it can be said to absorb the continents, whereas the South Pole extrudes Earth, and it can be said to create the continents. The entire mass of our continents is projected in a spiral motion towards the North Pole. This observed fact modifies the current conception of the poles of rotating mass. There are NOL, I don't know what that is. I guess that's, okay, I guess it meant to be, there are not, NOL two effects, but three, south versus south repels. North versus south attracts. North versus north is neutral. For the ancient Egyptians, the south is that which realizes, that which gives body. The north is that which inspires. This is a brief schematic account. In practice, the functioning are more fluid, hence more complex. So I'm thinking he's saying something here. The last piece of information he says, for the ancient Egyptians, the south is that which realizes, that which gives body. So if I understand this part, the north is that which inspires. So I'm seeing that basically he's saying that the earth is similar to a body. That is, the south part is where it says earlier that it produces continents from the south. And in the north, it basically takes it away. It basically, pulls it in. And while the southern part is what I would call is scooting out again, almost as though to do with feminine in some ways, with the woman's womb being that part in the southern part of on this planet. That's just my take on it. I could be wrong. Okay, thank you for listening. That's chapter 5 tonight. Thank you for being here. And hopefully we'll just continue on with another chapter here, since that was a very short chapter, but it was very to the point. Thank you.